Here we are for round 2, winning the die roll, and we do have a great start again with Everson's Pilgrim into Villagers with all the mana we need. So we are missing a Sank Green, but that would be a bit much to ask for. So I think we are going to be very fine if we can draw some more spells. And hopefully the Villagers flip, which could mean a very quick game if our opponent doesn't have a 2-drop. He's playing red, but he doesn't have a Geist Flame, which is a very good start for us. This is the moment of truth. As I said before, the importance of 2-drops in this format is really not to be underestimated. And with this, I'm actually quite happy to pass my turn without a play, making my villagers 4/6, and I even drew my island to make Tower Geist next turn. He also had to show us Devil's Play, killing the Pilgrim. Okay. This means that we have to think about our next attack a little more. We don't want to grow his Ripper unnecessarily large, but the fact that we also have Prey Upon to use with the Hull Pack, I think we can just drop Tower Geist. We don't want to play 2 spells this turn. And I'm happy to trade Tower Geist for the Ripper, so that's a nice split. I'm of course taking the 7-drop despite not having the mana yet. So I don't see a reason to stay back with the Hull Pack. I should be able to get rid of the Ripper by blocking, or if he has a removal spell, I can still Prey Upon, and it would only be bad if he has a removal spell and another cheap drop, but that seems highly unlikely because the amount of removal spells, the amount of mana that the removal spells cost in this format is just very high. So yeah, he didn't have another spell, so that's good. And we have the option to just Prey Upon the Ripper, staying on 13 and hitting him down to quite a low life total. So I should probably attack first, just because he could have something like Tragic Slip. And that gets rid of the Ripper. And the 4/6 is so strong against the black-red deck that I'm not going to shrink it by playing another spell. Okay, that's the Villagers gone, but now I can cast Tracker's Instinct and hopefully find some good cards. I could need the blue. Now Fastoid Boar and Hollow Range Scavenger. We can cast the Boar, which makes it better than the 5-drop, so I'm going to take it. And of course here with our opponent at 6 life, we just want to pressure him as much as possible, and we still have the Monstrosity and the flashback of Tracker's Instinct available. So the next game we are probably going to play a little more defensively, just because we know he has the Ripper and Traitorous Blood and Devil's Play to punish us for being too aggressive. Now this looks like a chump block, but we don't have to be afraid of overextending. We can basically drop a good spell for another 4 or 5 turns. So There's not much to be afraid of, even if he has something like Blasphemous Act. So Brimstone Volley. So we've seen quite a lot of good cards out of him, but also Riot Devils, the Ripper, and the Traitorous Blood without any sacrifice effects. He decided not to concede, casting Brimstone Volley in his main phase, so I'm not really sure what he has here. He has to have something, otherwise showing me Brimstone Volley doesn't make any sense. But doesn't look like he did. So that was also quite a good matchup for my deck, I believe. And we drew quite well as well, so. Against Black-Red with Traitorous Blood and the Ripper, the Disciple seems like a very good addition. Maybe even Grave Bramble if we are really scared, but I think these two cards should be considered. And I'm definitely adding in the Disciple to block his Ripper, to protect from any kind of sacrifice Traitorous Blood shenanigans. It's better if I get the life and he doesn't get the creature to do something with. So I think we don't need Grave Bramble. We have 3/3 drops that are quite good, and I probably should take out the Monstrosity simply because of the danger of Traitorous Blood, and I'm only losing if he has a good and fast start, I think. So the Disciple seems like a good card, the Monstrosity seems like the worst card against him. Getting a Traitorous Blooded is just too dangerous. So 4 5 drops is still quite a lot, but my deck kind of relies on these, so I think this should work out. I could add the Grave Bramble instead of one of the 5 drops, for example one of the Spiders, but we don't know what he is going to do, and I do want to attack at some point, so could go for the Grave Bramble here to really make his... Yeah, I think that's better. I haven't seen any flyers from him, so the Spider seems like the worst 5 drop. And I want to make my deck a little cheaper, because it's very likely that I just win if the game goes longer. We are playing 18 sources of mana, but it's really unlikely that we are going to be flooded. So opponent is playing first, mulliganing to 6, and we aren't mulliganing. We have only forests, but we have 3 2-drops, so quite a lot of time to find what we need. If we draw a black source, we have Tragic Slip, and with 3 or 4 turns where we can play stuff, it shouldn't really be a problem. Also, the interaction of Gutstuff Shepherd and Ambush Viper is really good, of course. Now, the problem is, if I drop the Shepherd here, it's possible that he follows up with Mountain and Ripper, and then we would have to decide what to do. And with my current hand, I'm probably just going to take 2 from the Ripper, because I can still trade it with Ambush Viper or the Dryad, which is kind of dangerous if he manages to remove the Viper, but I don't really want to risk it. What I'm going to do, however, is to stay back with the Shepherd, so that if he manages to deal with the Viper I'm going to flash in, I can still trade, because I don't want to deal with a 4/3 that's also growing. So let's see if the Viper lives. No, he has a Geist Flame. And then we definitely want to block. Feral Witchwolf, not that much of a problem. And I think we are just going to play the Strangleroot Geist as a fine blocker here. He could attack us and after blocking kill the Geist with Geist Flame, but that would only deal 1 damage and we get the 3/2 out of the deal. And I still have the Dryad and the Villagers to drop. Could have dropped the Villagers of Estvold, because if I draw a land I can drop Dryad and Geist, but blocking Feral Witchwolf with the Villagers isn't that great. It's okay, but I think getting Strangleroot Geist there is actually quite good. Our opponent is following up with Reckless Wave, which is not very impressive. And with 5 cards in hand against his 3, it seems that the late game should be very favorable. But we don't know if he has something like Olivia Voldaren, so we are still interested in closing out this game as fast as possible. Now the Witchwolf wants to attack, and we could force him to pump once with the Villagers or not pump at all with the Geist. I think it's okay to not constrict his mana here, because flipping Villagers is actually quite good for us. So he did the play I talked about, which deals 1 damage to us, and he's able to cast a spell, but that's also about it, so not that much of a problem. I'm keeping the Prey Upon for any good cards he might have, dropping the Dryad, and I think we probably do have an attack here of some kind. So I think in the long run the Villagers are going to be better than Strangleroot Geist. So, but the Strangleroot Geist deals 3 if I attack with them. So this is the point where I feel comfortable enough in attacking for 3, because he doesn't have much to do. And if he drops a land and decides to pump his Witchwolf 3 times, I'm not really that scared. No, that's something which is a little better, but which we should still be able to deal with. And we do our Swamp. So now, if we play any kind of creature, the Scourge grows, which is not what we really want. We do have the Tragic Slip, but I don't know if we are going to have a good block for that. I think we do have the option to just play this aggressively, killing 2 of his creatures and attacking with everything for 7, bringing him down to 10, which would be bad if he has something else, which is good. But I think I have to deal with the Scourge anyway, and I can't use my Tragic Slip if I stay back. So I think fighting with the Witchwolf here and dealing with the Scourge by using Tragic Slip not only deals with the best card he played until now, but also allows me to swing the race heavily in my favor. Of course, it's possible that I get punished if he has an even better card now, but there isn't that many cards I'm afraid of at this point. I also want to be attacking with my hand, because a race is favoring me with the Disciple, and him blocking is favoring me with my 5 drops. I also make my... Okay, that's fine. Yes, I also make my cards or my board position better against Traitorous Blood, because I'm not staying on the defensive, but just racing him, and I'm not in any danger of getting blown out by Traitorous Blood. And in fact, it looks like I'm not in any danger of anything, really. I didn't talk about this, but he corpse lunged my villagers, removing Scorch of Gaia Reach, and I feel like he could have played this a little better. If he passes the turn with Reckless Wave, both his wave and my villagers are going to transform in my upkeep. So in response to the trigger, he could have killed the villagers. Of course, that's worse against a combo trick, but he's so far behind that I think he should have taken the flip of his wave, just because he could. So he's at 4, which means he has to block the Scavenger, and he doesn't have a good block for it. He also doesn't have any other good blocks, really. He tapped out of red mana to drop Forge Devil. So, yeah, I think this game is basically over. And this is where it would be better for him if the Reckless Wave was a 3-2, of course. Not saying that it would have made a big difference, but it's definitely something you can consider. The fact that the werewolves trigger often means that you can still do something before they flip. So I think this game you could easily see from the way that life totals developed that he was never really winning, despite my plan of just getting the Howler active with the help of Ambush Viper didn't work out so well. But he did have the Geist Flame. Geist Flame is a good card against me, regardless. But the longer the game goes, the more favored I am to win matchups like this. So to get good matchups down, we are going to head to the finals.